Well, looky here. You are listening to someone who is bold, authentic, diverse, unpredictable. Baby, I am unapologetically Ramon, and you have entered my zone, the QB zone, baby. Hello, somebody.
Rock Legion.
So, well, it's the QB zone, and I am back for season two. I'm very excited for that. Thank you guys all for joining me. I definitely wanted to start this season off with doing a part two of one of my favorite episodes from last season. That was Barenaked Truths. And today, you guys are going to see and hear from some new faces and one familiar voice you guys will remember from last season. So I will start with ladies first. That is very good friend of mine. Those of you remember her from last season, I believe she did like 2, 3 episodes. That is Miss Jokera McNeil. We also have our two newbies. We have my fraternity brother, William Bolden. We also have my cousin, Kenzell Robinson. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to jump right in to the first topic, which is going to be relationship trends. So all of us are single. I think all of us but one is single. I'm not sure what Will's status is. We'll get to that a little later, but I think he's the only one that's not single. So we'll see. Um, Me and Kenzell are more. Me and Jokera are more so the oldies on the block, and we got two youngins. So this should be quite interesting when I get to talking about some of the stats. So one of the first things I want to talk about is marriage, the ideal for marriage. When you guys think of how you see yourself, what you want marriage to look like for you. Will, let's start with you first. What is your picture in the picture frame of what you want your marriage to look like, or what you see it looking like?
Um, I always thought it to be healthy, fun, some extravagant, some that is lovable, and that our kids could look up to and see like, okay, this is something that I want in the future when it's my time. So that's how I always saw marriage, and also watching my parents and also watching a number of married people that I've come across. That's always been the case for me. I've seen my share of marriages that wasn't always great. I think everyone has, witnessed those. But I think for me, I've always taken the good out of the bad of what I've seen, and just like, you know what, this is what I want my marriage to be like. Always learning from those marriages and watching them and just say, okay, cool. I need to incorporate this. I need to incorporate that. This would be a good thing to, be a methodology for us to follow and so forth and so forth. So, yeah. So for me, it's always healthy, lovable, and just always transparent too. I think transparency is a need to be a norm in a marriage, in a relationship period, but definitely in a marriage.
Do you see any gender roles having a place in your marriage?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Um only because and you met my mom, so she a very different kind of woman.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she's not a gender role kind of person. So the cooking and cleaning part was just that was a norm in our household. So cleaning for me is not an issue. It's actually therapeutic at this point. Um, Cooking is not an issue at all. So it's like for me, if my wife cooks, cool. If she doesn't, cool. I think it'll probably have to be what our dynamic would be in that marriage. So if both of us are working, okay, cool. What is our dynamic? Who does this? Who does that? What's the exchange on it? And
Right.
going from there. Or, if we have that conversation where We're ready to start a family. We are starting a family, and my wife wants to stay at home. We'll have that conversation and so forth, and be like, okay, cool. If we're doing this, this is going to be our dynamic. This is going to be our routine, and this is what we should do collectively. Not just putting household chores on her. That'll be some things that I'll do for sure. But I think it's just all about what the dynamic would be. But gender roles in general, nah. I think the only thing I'll probably not make my wife do, and this is a gender role for certain for me, is taking out trash. Don't take out trash. I'll handle that. Just stay in the house and do what you got to do, but don't take out the trash. Don't touch a door. Touching the door, it really does piss me off. Like, stop touching shit. So other than that, I'm cool.
Okay. How about you, Kenzell?
Gender roles, I don't think I prescribe to them. I think that like over time I changed in that perspective. I think when I was younger, I was like, oh, I think I wanted something that was 50-50. As I've grown in like the workplace, I don't feel like, it's 100% necessary for me at this time. But like I can, provide if necessary for, so if I did have a woman and kids or whatnot.
And what would you say is your picture of what marriage looked like for you?
What marriage look like for me? I think the simple things for me is like one who understands, like, saying when I need my alone time. I'm saying? A person who can understand that, like, um, you know, with you, like, doing things for me isn't a secondary nature of you. It's more so of you doing things that I think that makes me happy. And, like, so doing things that you like that makes you happy. So whether it be, so if we out, some open doors, things of that nature, or, how can I say, like, I don't know. Like, so I guess, like, since if a woman made a plate for me, to me, I don't think that's submissive. I think that's like, honor, like, since woman praising me. That's how I see it. So, like,
the little things would matter.
Little things matter to me. That's why I said the money thing kind of gone away from me. So the younger point, like, you don't know whether or not you can sustain for yourself, and so someone who can make my life relatively easier. Because I know myself very well. I know I'm a person that's very unorganized. So a woman who can bring structure to my life. Some people who, like, you ever see people who have closets are like meticulously organized, where they have like boxes and like things color coordinated. So I think for me, I'm looking for someone who could like help me keep my life organized. So that's kind of relationship what I'm looking for. And I don't know if that answers the question.
And would you say that, and this is for both of y'all, and I go to you, Jokera, would you say that how you saw y'all mom and dad, did that play a role of any sort in what you want for your marriage, Kenzell?
No, it definitely did. I understand that that's good and bad, and I think that human beings who have been together so long, either you're gonna run into like issues of like not having much to communicate on a day-to-day basis, where it's kind of like we more so like running through emotions. I think the second one is that, and I think this is why like I wanted to find someone who like understands my needs and pay attention to me, because some people get into I think a marriage and they don't understand that some people are better at communicating, and there's some people who are better at being like extroverts, so they're able to like explain what they want. And sometimes if you're in a relationship, you're concerned about the person you're involved with, and you won't necessarily express how you may feel. And I think that, from watching my parents, I understand that like it's some issue that they probably could have like eliminated if I think women understood men more, by saying that, okay, this person is a caveman. He don't know what just tell him what he wants and it'll get accomplished. And then vice versa. To the caveman side, try your best, even though it's impossible, is to like try to pick up on the hints that she's dropping. And then I think that's what, like, going forward makes those things smoother. But I think that's what I noticed from, like, watching my folks growing up.
Yeah. And I think that's great. I think you're able to do that when you're definitely in tune with each other. The person don't have to say anything, but you can just tell when something's wrong. You kind of feel out their vibe and know what they need. How about you, Will? How you saw your mom and dad, did that play a role in what your picture of marriage is?
It did. It did. It definitely played a huge part in how I move in a relationship, things that I'm okay with, things that I'm not okay with. Um, and both of my parents, like my obviously, my dad, he's my stepdad. But both of my biological parents have both been married. So it's like watching them and their dynamics and their relationships and their marriage. And I've learned again tremendous amounts from both of them, things that I like, things that I don't like. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Like I definitely like this. I like my parents do a date night every week. So no matter who, no matter where they're going, they go to a spot, even if it's the same spot, that they make time for themselves, for them. So there's been times where they left me and my sister home, just be like, hey, I don't care what y'all do, figure it out.
Right, right.
It just it they'll come back, no food. It's just like, oh, so y'all just forgot about us. All right, cool. So, and there's been things where, and also like with my parents, that is complete opposite too, and also plays a part of my personality as well, is my parents don't argue around us at all. So for me, when people be like, do have you seen your parents arguing? I just be like, nah. I hear about it because they'll both talk to me about it eventually, but but I never see it. So they always have their conversations at a different time. They don't show like if they're mad at one another while me and my sister are around, even as kids, even as an adult right now. Um, they still don't do that. So like if they have a conversation, like you at one moment you'd be like, okay, cool, y'all mad at each other, but y'all not showing it. Then another moment they real cool. I was like, I don't know when y'all talked and when y'all got this understanding, but they'll have their own conversation and go from there. Um, versus my biological father, when his marriage at the time period, I did see them argue and I didn't like that. Not because the arguments that they were having, it was just more so of it wasn't something that I was used to, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
something that I wanted to conform to. Yeah, personally, I always felt like, when it comes to a relationship, especially being in a marriage with somebody, and this is probably the one person in the world that you should be soft with, so yelling just wasn't a thing. My mother is feisty, so she'll yell, but my dad never yells back. So that in itself just kind of showed me like, okay, cool. No matter how she is, whatnot. If my dad gets to a point where he's just like, you know what, I can't talk to you right now, he'll just walk away.
Oh,
Um, and he'll just leave it at that. But he never yells back at her. So that's something that I always take with me. Um, I always put into practice. Now I work into my relationship now, and it's been pretty healthy so far.
that's good. That's good. Jokera, as the only lady in the group, what is your view on, well, not your view, but what is your picture of what you see marriage being for you? And then does your family, your parents, did that play a role in what that picture is?
Whew, like a loaded question, man. Marriage for me, I see as being a partnership. Um, you know, um, yeah, basically just a partnership, um, supportive. I am a big proponent, um, a uh, reciprocating what giving the same energy that I'm getting. Um, so I that's something I would definitely look for in relationships leading, and when I'm considering leading towards marriage. Um, Definitely something that's fun, because I don't feel like, a lot of times you hear conversations or people have this view or impression that once you get married, everything changes, or it's supposed to, like you're supposed to, like you're missing out. People run away from it because they feel like they're missing out on something. Ideally, to me, like, um, marriage isn't necessary. It wouldn't be like the end of, or where I feel like I'm missing out of something. It would be like I'm ready to explore even more, but I have my person, like, and I have my partner, my road dog, whatever, in that. As far as my parents, so yeah, my parents have been married for 41 years. 41, 42 years. I can't remember for sure, actually, but it's definitely 40, it's like 40 something. It's early
Right.
40 something. They've been together for a minute, you know. So granted, like I would like to be married and I'd like to hold on to a marriage that long, but to think about that like right now, that's a long time with somebody.
Right.
But I will say they definitely have shaped what I view in my marriage too. Twofold though, because um, when you talk about gender roles, I do believe that they subscribe to more of a gender role, like, you know, the man does this, woman does that. They subscribe more to that. Where and I'm not a 50-50 person, but there's just certain things that I'm not gonna do. Like when it comes to anything that's going on that's wrong with a vehicle, that I'm not even going to pretend. I'm not touching trash. I think, you know, cleaning can go both ways. However, the meal, like, and cooking ain't even a thing, you know, a big thing. Like, maybe we'll cook, maybe we'll eat out, but you know, like, we're both working, so you need to understand, you know. So, and dynamics are different now, in terms of, like, you know, the women in the workplace, so and how that works in a household. So it's a little different. I think that, you know, we should take that in consideration too when we're setting up these relationships, because many people come into believing that they want to be traditional, but are missing the key aspects of, you know, the differences between a traditional versus modern relationships, and leading into marriages. But yeah.
Could you see yourself being with a man who don't want you to work?
So if he doesn't want me to work, like, he doesn't want me to go into work, so that's tough, because like going into the workplace is one thing, like, and I'm okay with not necessarily going into a workplace. However, I still need an outlet. And for me, I'm sorry, like, staying home and being domestic ain't it. I'ma just be that's just me. So even if I'm not going into an office every day, then I'm working on something, you know, from home,
Right.
whether it be like, oh, okay, now I can focus, you know, I don't have to worry about, you know, grinding for the bag or to get the coin. I can be more relaxed and maybe focus on, you know, fitness, being a fitness trainer, or I can focus on doing something, you know, with fashion or something like that, and where it can still lead to something that will bring funds into the home, but it is not necessarily, you know, me in the hustle and bustle grind, getting up, going to work, you know, 7 o'clock, whatever, however that goes. Basically, the grind that I'm in right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for me, my view of marriage is different. I grew up being raised by grandparents, and so there was a lot of traditional values, traditional roles, gender roles. So my granddaddy would go to work, and that's all he had to do was go home. You know how they say you go out and get the bacon, and she come home and cook it, and, you know, whatever. So all he had to do was work.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his own business until he, you know, stopped working until he retired. And so my grandmother did everything. She the one who raised the children or raised me and did the teaching and the discipline. She's the one who handled the books for his business. She also worked full time as an engineer, and then would still come home from a full day and would cook. His plate would be set. when he came home, literally all he had to do was put whatever amount of minutes he wanted on the microwave. It was already there for him to eat. She did laundry, fold the clothes, and put them up. So I saw her pretty much as a woman doing everything, and all he had to do was go to work. And I just feel like that was too much. I just felt like, when do you rest? How do you rest? She just did everything for everybody. And so growing up, I didn't want to put all that pressure on somebody. I think for me, I was always more independent. I was always more of a person who wants to make life easier for the other person. I feel like women bring so much to your life and to a relationship when you treat them right. And so I really felt like my grandfather's brother, him and his wife, I love their dynamics. It was more of, she only had to go to work. She never had to pay any bills. So whatever money she had, she could play already and do whatever she wanted to do. But he financially provided for her and for the children. They equally disciplined and equally raised the children. So it wasn't like a one-sided situation. But then you get older and you have your own experiences. I definitely can't see myself being with someone who doesn't work. I definitely can't see the responsibility being all on one person. I think with me being more of a nurture and supporting person, it will need to be someone who's also ambitious, because I think all you guys know, I'm pretty ambitious and have my goals I like to pursue. And so I kind of want us to do those things together. I don't want to be a situation where I'm grinding, I'm pursuing these goals, and you sitting at home bored. So now you nagging me like I ain't spending enough time for you. So I think it needs to be equally yoked for me when it comes to ambition. Gender roles, not so much. I don't mind cooking, I don't mind cleaning. I do agree with the trash thing. I've never seen my grandma take out trash. I've never seen my female cousins who have men, I never see them take out trash. Now when it comes to car maintenance, I think that's a little different. I believe in us having good car insurance so we can take our cars to the dealership, because I'm not fixing no car either. Now I can change the tire all day long. I'll change the tire all day long. But yeah, player, we're gonna have good AAA roadside assistance. We're gonna have good insurance. We're gonna have money in the savings for a rainy day. Because I'm telling you right now, I can't do nothing else about that. But yeah, so for me, I definitely don't see no gender roles. I just see us kind of what Will stated, what works for us, looking at our dynamic, what we want, what we see for our marriage, for ourselves, and kind of make our own picture. But definitely life experiences and how I raised would definitely have a part to play in it. You know, thinking about why some people get married. I remember when I was a young kid, I had asked my grandmother, because they, olden days, they get married when they're teenagers. My grandmother met my grandfather when she was 18, they got married at 19, and she had my first uncle, or her first child, when she was 20. And I remember asking her, when she got married, was she in love? And she said, no. She said she grew in love. She said she just wanted to leave her mama house. Because back in those days, you raise your daughters to, work hard, try to get education, but more so this idea of a man who can provide. And so when you see a man who provides, you more so do it as a partnership, as a lifelong commitment to each other. And then sometimes I don't call it an arranged marriage, because you go pick out your own man. But back in those days, the women would marry a man for comfort, or they would court a man for comfort, more so we ain't falling in love. Sometimes love did come into play. Like I said, she grew to love him. And so I thought that was quite interesting. Of course, I don't think most of our generation would do nothing like that. But I did look up some stats from an organization called the Pew Research Center. And they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the top reasons why people get married. It did change by age group. For example, you have, millennials and Gen X and things like that. But just off of 18 to 29, and I think that's Kenzell's age group. I forgot how old you are, Will. How old are you?
28, sorry.
Okay, so that's both of y'all age group. And so for 18 to 29, the top reason was love. For our age group, Jokera, it was companionship. Some of the other reasons was making a lifelong commitment, having children, and financial stability. Financial stability was actually the lowest one for both age groups, ours and theirs. But then you have reasons why people are not married. All of us are single. Me and Jokera on the tail end of 30. Y'all are on the tail end of 20. Some of the reasons, and I'm gonna do it by age group. For 18 to 24, well, we ain't got about 18 to 24, so I say 25 to 34. The number one reason why they are not married is because they're not ready to settle down, or they feel like they're too young. This was done out of a group of 2,003 people they researched. For our age group, the number one reason why they are not married was haven't found what they are looking for. Jokera, why do you think for our age group versus the younger generation, haven't found what they are looking for versus not ready to settle? Why do you think for us, that's our number one reason?
That's interesting, actually. I'm not even sure. I would imagine, but I mean, I guess my first guess may be they're still trying to find themselves. I mean, if you at our age,
right,
you don't know what you're looking for. I mean, I think that's tough.
Yeah.
And it begs to, and I mean, it begs a question, like, you know, why don't you know that?
Right.
And unless you are always, you know, there are moments where you're always believing something is better, you know, like or the fear of, you know, missing out, but not even so much in the terms of not ready to settle down, though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It's not that they don't want to settle down and still be out in the streets and party. Like, they want to be settled, but I'm gonna just imagine ain't clicking, you know, with someone. But I think that's internal.
Right. Do you think sometimes our age group can have this checklist and we're not really maybe compromise some of the things on that checklist, and so we kind of, I don't want to say sabotage ourselves, but in a way can get in our way, can get in our own way of finding love?
Absolutely, because a lot of the checklists, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I you know, have had a list per se, right? And you know, there are certain things that will could be ranked higher than, you know, another task. Like you know, it's a give and take or compromise in the list. Some things are deal breakers, some not. But even still, like, the reason why you put these certain things on the list, I believe they change as you get older or as you become, you know, more mature and are able to define better what matches what you want. And maybe, you know, what I wanted 10 years ago is different than what I want now.
Right.
And so I've learned to go back through those things and determine what stands and what I can and what I could, you know, not have to, something I can bear. Like, that's okay. That you know, it's okay if they ain't necessarily driving, you know, the newest Benz, you know, but they're stable, you know, and have other things going together. Like, so when you get older and your values of what you want your life to look like, or what you the kind of life you want to live, I think that plays a part in how you move forward in deciding. But yeah, in terms of them not knowing what they haven't found what they want,
Mm-hmm.
it don't sound like they know what they want.
Right, right. Kenzell, um, do you think that where you're at right now, because I will say this, the number two reason for both age groups not financially prepared. So both of our age groups had that.
Right.
Do you think that right now in life, if you were to find someone and fall in love, do you think that you have the pieces in place where you would be ready for marriage? Like ready to settle down and ready for marriage?
Right. I think, to be honest with you, I think I'm the biggest hurdle of me not being married at this point. I think I'm extremely picky. And you get to a point when you're a certain age where, like, if you're 25 and below, you're probably financially unable to do a lot of things that you want to do. And as you are at that point, you may attract a lot of women, but it's not a lot of women that you like. And sometimes you get tired. And for me, I definitely get exhausted. I'm just like, I kind of see that this ain't gonna work prior to me even having to go through the dating scenario.
Right, right.
And I think I wrote some things down. I think options galore, man. I mean, whether or not it be through Bumble or meeting somebody in person, and God forbid meeting somebody at the club. It's not because they're a bad person.
Right.
The person that you meet is a representative. You know what I'm saying? And this is one of the few times that women are actually approaching you, because most times women are not that confident in person when you meet them in the store and in the other conversation. So if you create a conversation, is not always going to be as pleasant or go as the way you would like it to. You know what I mean? I don't know. Am I going in the right direction? Okay.
Yeah.
I think lastly for me is the fear of getting it wrong. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Men, I think, and I know I'm speaking in generalization, and this is from reading the book called The Rational Male. It just, the time it took to build me into the man that I am, I'm just afraid of, if I do get married and I do produce children, offspring, it's a 99% chance that I would not have my children at the end of this going wrong. That's number one. Number two, and some people, so you might be the woman who you do meet, go 50-50 on things, but for the most part, that may not be the case. And that's just a chance of me losing, saying what I'd have worked hard for, saying my retirement, my savings, my, saying if I, saying accumulate more profit. Those things are in jeopardy, and like it's a nerve-wracking thing for me. So, so whenever I go into it, it's a serious thing for me, and like I'm a very astute guy. And that's kind of how it rolls for me. And so that's why I said I would like for a woman to help me be organized, because I know that I'm very spontaneous. I know I'm introvert, but at the same time spontaneous. So if you ever text me, I'm like, oh, but we finna hit out, like we want to taffy taco.
Right.
I'm down. I don't need a lot of time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but a lot of things I might have, like, unorganized on my day to day. But for me, it's a fear of getting it wrong, not having an adequate partner, and just options galore. It's like, man, you run to so many women, and it just gets so much easier the older you get. It's just like, oh my God.
Right.
And by no means am I a HOE to the people watching outside.
No, you definitely be one of the good ones. There's a quote, and I want you to give your opinion on this, Will. So I actually came across this by accident. I was just scrolling on social media, and there's this guy named T.K. Kirkland. I guess he's some kind of actor, comedian, whatever. I've never seen the stuff he acted in, but when I Googled him to see who the hell he was, they had like movies and comedian. But he stated the other day, if he's married, he will be faithful or pay all the bills, but he isn't doing both. Will and Jokera, I want y'all opinion on that. Will, you go first.
You got to repeat that one more time for me. Just
I
gotta make sure I heard that.
Make sure you heard it correctly. So he said, if he's married, he will either be faithful or he's going to pay all the bills, but he's not going to do both.
That sounds like a man who ain't securing himself, or he ain't got dick control. It's one of the two. to be quite honest. And I think this is probably the ongoing conversation on most podcasts or social media accounts, which is should men pay all the bills? And there's a lot of women who believe that and so forth. But honestly, the reality is in this day and age, if you just watch or just look at basic economics, it's not damn near impossible to do, but not a lot of men can do that, black men alone. So the statistics right now, I think it's less than 1 or 2% of the black males in America make less than $100,000 a year. So, and for black women, it's less than that. They're doing better education wise, but it's less than that as well. So, and to put it in perspective, I make close to 6 figures right now. I'm probably like five off right now. Bro, I could barely take care of myself. Like it's so it's gotten to a point where, you know, to bring another person into the picture and then have a family and so forth and so forth, it's a lot that goes on. But in even in that time period, just thinking about it, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It all depends on your dynamic with your partner. What is that conversation that you're having with that person? Um, so like for example, with me and my girl, so we've had this conversation multiple times, and there are major things that I will cover that fit well into my budget. There are some things I need you to cover as well. So it's kind of like we have a 70-30 kind of thing going on. 70% of the things that I can take care of, 30% of things you can take care of, so forth and so forth. But we also have had that conversation like, hey, if the money is flowing that way and it's flowing the way that where I can take care of everything, then sure. Then, you know, don't worry about things. Just take care of groceries and we be good. Now I will admit, I have not always had this bone in my body. That traditional man shit was
Right.
it never set well in my spirit. It just never did. I've watched men in my life who I think are the greatest people in the world stress on trying to make ends meet, stressing being up at night, you know, getting together with them and they're talking about bills and covering, you know, bills for their wives, kids, and so forth, and not having enough for themselves. So you grow up listening to all that and you just like, yeah, that traditional bullshit don't sound really too good right now. So um but I think it's all about the person that you're with. I think it's all about your dynamic as well. But I don't believe like if you can be faithful and pay all the bills. I don't think one correlates with the other, you know.
Right.
Now I will say like I I refer to people that are useless as buckets. So if you marry a bucket, like you bring nothing to the table. You take everything, you fill up, but you don't contribute to anything. So if you get with a bucket, that's what you get. You get a bucket. So I don't think for me, I feel like I don't think people ask enough questions nowadays. I don't think people really get to know people as well as they think they do. Also, I think in the same breath, I don't think people allow people to be themselves. So we fall in love or we accept people for what we hope they can be or what
Right.
we think they can be or the potential
Right.
for them to be, but when they don't fit that mode, then it's like I got an issue with you. But again, I don't think it correlates at all with, you know, being faithful and paying all the bills. Whatever your dynamic is with your partner, work at it. If y'all got a dream or if y'all got a plan on, hey, we're gonna do this for this amount of years, so forth and so forth, then you go from there. But is I think it's just really just don't live up to the hype of other people. Don't live in the shadow or vision of other people. Don't try to keep up with the
Absolutely.
Joneses.
Right.
So um And that's always been me. I've never been that kind of person or anything. And I think you know this for a fact. So my brothers, they go out all the time. I am not that kind of person.
Never been. That is true.
So I've never been that kind of person. And I used to tell
Yes.
them straight up, I was like, look, y'all can get me on one of these days, but you're never gonna get me back to back. So, so
Absolutely. Yeah.
So and it's just all about living within your means and going from there. So I never thought to myself that, I want to look this way. I want to seem like I got it, but don't have it. It's just
Right.
you create a situation for yourself that just doesn't blow well. And also with a lot of Black men, or just men, period, we don't handle financial issues the greatest. Um, some of us are not the greatest as far as like being transparent. We don't necessarily talk to our spouses or significant others about it. Kind of get silent, grow distant, and everything else like that. And some of us actually get mean. So, as I don't feel it's worth putting yourself in a financial bind on purpose.
Right.
And then, your girl gotta bear the front of it because you was too prideful to just say no, or I'll catch y'all another time.
And I think you brought up some good points because, I think people are not having the right conversations. They're not making sure they have a plan, and also the dynamics. You can't compare yourself to somebody else's relationship. And I think a lot of times we as men are not very forthcoming with the finances because we see this chick, we know we want her, we have, we love all these things about her, and we know that she has these expectations, and we kind of falsify ourselves and make it seem as if we can meet those expectations knowing we can't. If you know that she wants someone who can pay all these bills and bring all these things to the table financially, you know that that's not something that you want to do or can. Why are you going to stress yourself out trying to meet that expectation instead of being honest, or just being with someone that you guys are more aligned with your vision and plan for your relationship?
I agree with that too. And I would say from a man being in a relationship of that caliber, in a past relationship like that, it sucks because both people want two different things and we see things two different ways. So there's always a ripple between the two. And I tell my young boys that I know up here all the time that, hey, if that woman wants that, that is her right. That is the way, there's not another, but it's also your right to not give in to that if that's not something you want to do. So don't pressure yourself to be something that you're not. Don't pressure yourself to live beyond your means or, spend money that you don't have. I've been in that situation before and not necessarily trying to, and the crazy part, it wasn't necessarily trying to prove that I had it. It was just to keep the girl happy and just keep the peace in the relationship. Because I just felt like that if she was peaceful, I was peaceful.
Right.
And that just wasn't the case at all. But if I known what I knew now, I probably would have broke it off a lot sooner. Just for the simple fact that it's not that she was a bad person. We just had two different views and two different ways of going about it. And we were just on two different paths, and neither one of us we could have been great friends. I feel like that would have been a better outcome. But in hindsight of everything, this is what she wanted, which is completely okay. And she has every right to it. I think every person has every right to the life that they want to live. It could be very, what's the word that I'm looking for? Very high expectations or unrealistic expectations, but that is that person's that's their ideology.
Right.
But you don't have to conform to that. So you really don't.
Absolutely. Jokera, so TK saying if he's married, he will be faithful or pay all the bills, but he's doing both. What is your opinion on that? What's the first thing that comes to your mind as a woman?
Well, being the type of woman that I am, baby, I don't need you to pay bills. And if it's going to risk your loyalty in a relationship, Like, I ain't being locked down for you to be running the streets. So, yeah, in terms of him, either he gonna pay all the bills or be faithful. We can work out how the bills should be paid. I can contribute to the bills because it's more important for me that in a relationship that you're being faithful than you paying all the bills.
Would that be a turnoff if a guy that you're dating or interested in says that to you? Would that be a turnoff?
I wouldn't say necessarily a turnoff, but it'll be a conversation. We're gonna talk about it. You know, my yeah, immediately. I mean, it's gonna be like, okay, and what that mean? You know,
right.
if you're not gonna be faithful, you could get gone. I ain't hard up for no man. You know, and I laugh because, you know, some of these things or how my mouth or how it responds, you know, maybe where I'm at now. But however, that's who I am.
Right.
You know, and
absolutely.
And that's what it's gonna be. But in terms of you tell me I'm gonna pay all the bills or I'm gonna be faithful. Yeah, nah, that ain't one. Well, so you asked me, would that be a turn off? And I guess, and I said not necessarily a turn off because I'm thinking too on initially I'm saying my view is I want somebody faithful. Like, I'm not looking for somebody to necessarily pay all the bills, right? But on the flip side to that conversation too, you ain't giving me no ultimatum, like, to be with me. Like, either you want to be with me or you don't.
Right.
So backing up to your question, if somebody did like actually present me with that, yeah, nah, that probably would be a turn off. Actually, I recant my initial statement.
So getting away from just marriage and things like that, I want to talk about some dating trends. Go and mention a few, just throw them out there. And I'm just curious if any of you guys have been in these types of situations. Knowing some of you, I think, or knowing all of you, I kind of think some of these, which ones y'all gonna say that y'all have been a part of. But I'm gonna start with a dating trend that's called cushioning. Cushioning is when someone is in a relationship, they keep flirting with others so that they have backups or cushions in case the main relationship doesn't work out. So I ain't gonna call no names, but Kenzell.
I think that any man
had that experience.
I think that any man that doesn't understand that a woman has a plan B man at all times is a fool.
But have you had a plan B?
Have I had a plan B?
Yeah.
I think at my younger age, no, because I've grown up in a 2-parent household, and my brain was thinking like, okay, this is probably my forever stone. Okay. But again, I have to pursue. It's not the same for the other way around, and women typically try to keep their numbers low by recycling their old dude. So
what?
Okay. Jokera, go ahead.
I wanted to touch that TK situation, but it was past that time. And
I'll come back to you then. I'll come back to you on that.
Trust, man. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I ain't God trust.
Go ahead, Jokera.
Cushioning. So
laugh too, because I'm speaking facts, my boy.
No, I don't like if I'm in a relationship. Granted, I do have male friends, but in terms of keeping them around in the event that my relationship ends, I don't believe that I've done that. Because when I'm in a relationship, that's what I'm focused on, and I'm not even focusing on necessarily what I'm going to do if it ends. If I go into a relationship with that mentality, then how is that beneficial or good for the relationship? Right. Anyway, So while people, I've been in relationship, or even my last relationship, I believe it was thought that I interact with these people as if they, to be a backup thing. But clearly that wasn't the case, because if that was, then I would be right back, right into a relationship, and that it's not for me. Cushioning is not something that I've been into.
Okay. How about you, Will?
So this is part where I'll be the toxic man on the podcast, because that's been me a couple of times. I'm not gonna lie. So it was past relationships that I was in where the relationship is going good, and I can be like, well, if this relationship does go bad, old girl from over here will be waiting in the cut, old girl from down the street, she already hit me up, so it's like there was always a backup plan. As far as, I won't say there was a backup plan to replace the love. There was always a backup plan to fall on to someone in case the relationship didn't work out. So something temporary to take my mind off of things and go from there. Now, I can't think about it. I'm actually on the other end. I'm with Kenzell. I'm thinking like, damn, my chick got a plan B, because if she do, he gotta die. Cause I'm just like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. I'm at the point with my lady that we get married, and just, if I pass first, God forbid, if I pass first, I would totally want her to be by herself for the rest of her life. That's how selfish that I am at this point in time in my life. So, and she feels the same way, vice versa. But nah, now I think, having a backup plan is a waste of time. I feel like if you're really focused on the person that you with, you can't really think about a backup. It doesn't give room for that. Because if you're constantly working on a relationship, you're constantly spending time with that person, going on dates and so forth and so forth. It's really hard to really want a backup, because it's just like, yeah, you can give me this temporary pleasure, but you can't give me internal happiness. You can't give me the peace that I long for and so forth. I remember it was some months back, and I do regret breaking this girl hard, but she wanted to step towards, and I was just like, look, man, you'll be a great person. I've known you for a very long time and everything else like that, but you can't give me the peace that I've longed for a long time. So the girl that I'm with gives me peace. She gives me happiness. She gives me a chance to be vulnerable. She gives me a chance to be soft. And also, I guess in a way, gives me a chance to be masculine at the same time. So it's really hard to find all of that in one person.
Right.
And, you playing Russian roulette to try to find that again. And I'm just not with it. So I rather stay where I'm at, and just do what I do.
The next dating trend, being afraid of labels. We always think that guys are the ones who are scared to commit, but girls are too. A lot of people love being unofficial and having no pressure, just having fun. But if you're into someone and things are going well and enough time has passed, put a label on it. It's okay. Have any of you guys ever been in that situation?
No.
Wait, where you don't get a label? What's the situation? If you don't use a label, or if you do?
You don't use them because you're afraid of them. As if you put a label on it, now it's going to change something for the worse.
Me personally, it's something I gotta guard myself from. This is the person who's dating now, and usually that's why that's why I say I'm so picky. Well, like, I don't even want to date a woman if she has daddy issues. Like, for me, I really try my best, which is impossible because it's already a low stack for Black people in general. I like Black women, but usually people have a commitment issue on the women's side, and from what I've noticed, it's due to like them having fear of either one having some past abuse relationship, or like I said, in the same fear I have of like getting it wrong, committing to somebody, and they feel like wasting time because they do always have their plan B person on the side, and it's not because they like, okay, I actively talk to this individual, but this person gonna pop up. You know, since like we all hit that like, yo, what you doing? Or like, you know, saying I talk to you, or if she not responding, I know that she probably in a relationship right now. But if she not, and she respond, she probably single right now, and we probably gonna reconnect because we always got that good energy between each other. You know what I'm saying? I might got topic a little bit. Bring me back one more time. I know I got to on this one.
The labels.
Labels. Okay. And I think label wise, you know, it just it frees the person up from guilt. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know what I'm saying? Because yeah, I don't know if like, you know, since some men may not be satisfying they lady the way they think they do, and they don't have the conversation because you may be, you know, saying hitting it right, but at the same time she may not give him that next level of like fellatio that she likes, and she's not comfortable enough to tell you that. So therefore, like, if things don't go right with you, she's comfortable like, okay, stepping out to like, you know, saying Johnny or somebody else to like, you know, saying funnel those needs, because not every man can provide everything, because, you know, saying you may be able to make this person laugh, but it ain't cute to be laughing at the register. And so that's like a problem, I think, why some women don't want to commit, because like you aren't facilitating all the needs that I need. And therefore, I don't want to be like, I don't want to tell you, because no, most women are soft, you know what I'm saying, and gentle with your spirit. They like you. You're not going to tell you that, you know what I'm saying, you're not facilitating all those needs. Right. That's why some of them avoid it. And so for me, that's why I say I protect myself. But when a woman tell me that, usually they hint you, and some either say it out verbatim or they tell you in a certain little hint. And it's like, yo, protect yourself, God. And I'm a sensitive man because I'm raised by a 2-parent home. I'm not a player. It's just something, like I said, I research and I pay attention. That's why I say I like TK, because he's speaking from a king's perspective. He's not speaking from a standard man perspective. It's not king where like I got millions of dollars. Kings is like in the time of royalty, a king would have his queen, and then he would have concubines. And the queen knew about the concubine, but she looked the other way because she knows that I have food, I have everything I need. I have the finest of silk. Everything I need is there. And I think that I'm smart enough to know that these people are unimportant. They will never take my position. But, you know what I'm saying, it's just some male thing that like he needs to suffice himself on a small regular. Because I'm probably not about to, you know what I'm saying, drop that guap 5,000. But, you know what I'm saying, concubine over there probably will. And I'm fine with that, you know what I'm saying. And plus I got the kids, so you can never take that from me, because he's never going to impregnate y'all. But I got the ultimate trump card, which is these kids.
Right.
I think that's what TK is speaking on when he was saying that, like, if I pay all the bills, it's a good chance that I might step out. But if we playing 50-50, it's like, okay, you a sucker of a man if you got this woman paying bills and you stepping out. You a sucker. That's what I think the perspective is.
Okay. Jokera, how about you in labels?
I support labels. I believe that the labels hold, I do believe the labels hold like responsibility behind the title. Because I am the first one to say if we don't have if we're not exclusive or don't have a conversation about being exclusive, then we're not exclusive, and you cannot expect me to give you that, you know, that exclusivity that you're that you believe you should have.
Right.
Now granted, that doesn't mean that I'm out loose as a goose. That means that I entertain or may go on dates or go out with other people, but understand, like, it's just you don't have priority to my time. And I believe that if you have a title, then that's how I prioritize with a title. I did have an ex that did not want to use a title because they, like you said, felt that it would change things. But I believe that things change because that's how he viewed it. Like that's the mindset that he already went into the relationship with. And so it didn't give the relationship much room to go past that because that was already the mentality. But yeah, I think I'm pro title.
I definitely think that titles are important. I think because it clears the room for any misunderstanding. I'm sure we all have been in situations or know people who've been in situations where this person thinking they're in a relationship, this person thinking they're just kicking and having fun, getting to know each other. So I think it's important to have labels and to make sure that we have communicated and had an understanding of those labels, because last thing you want is to be out on a date, having fun, doing whatever, and then the person you just slept with a few days ago come up and show their ass in public because they thinking y'all in a whole relationship, and you thought it was just a little maintenance man or a fly-by-night situation. So yeah, I definitely think that labels are important. Unfortunately, when it comes to love, I can say that I'm probably the only one out of this group who have not experienced this from a romantic standpoint, and that is heartbreak. Heartbreak at times can make people bitter. Sometimes it can make people better. Because I know Will and Jokera, I have a feeling that they have some insight on this topic. But of course, I'm not going to tell y'all business. I'll let y'all tell what I want to tell. However, when it comes to having your heart broken, how did you get out of a situation where you experienced heartbreak and was still motivated to find love again? Because sometimes people can have their heart broken and they're bitter, F love, and I'm done, and I'm just gonna be for the streets, so I'm just gonna be a player. But all of you moved on to find love again, or be willing to open yourself up for love again. So I'll start with you, Jokera. How did you move through that process, and what motivated you to want to find love again?
Well, it took a very long time. Let me just say that. It took time. It took a time of me not, I guess I might have been bitter for a little bit. But it took time of me taking in, like, once I got over like the process of the heartbreak, the crying, doing all that, and then playing the field, whatever you want to call it. I took time with myself, like, where I wasn't interested in anybody, didn't entertain anybody, but I took time by myself and, stop asking myself, what is it that I want? Make sure I understand what it is that I want. How can I get there? There might have been heartbreak or in the relationship that ended, but what aspects of the relationship can I take out that either I can learn from, that I might need to address within myself, or that were positive that I can, continue to carry on into my next relationship. So, in terms of being ready to go on and still have an interest, still have a desire to date or meet somebody and be able to give that to somebody else, it is doing the work of like self-reflection and just really releasing any type of bitterness, understanding that, what caused the relationship to end, and understanding that fully, and then accepting that, but taking what you can and go with it so that you can make a better relationship in the future, or create a better relationship in the future with whomever you end up with. So yeah.
How about you, Will?
Repeat your question for me one more time.
Having your heart broken, or having a relationship ending that you might have thought was going to last forever or whatever, what was that experience like, moving and processing and growing through that, and still being willing to find love again and not letting that bitterness take over you?
It was hard. I'm not gonna sugarcoat and say that, it was an easy fit to get over or anything else like that, but it's a hard process. You go through your ups and downs. Some days you're good, some days you're not. I think for me, I don't think my outlook on love changed. I think it was more so it just didn't work out with this one person, and that's okay. And I've always been a firm believer in, not everybody is for you, and that is perfectly all right. So not everybody's supposed to be your friend. Not everybody's supposed to get close to you, and that's cool. I think in the growing out of the stage of getting out of that relationship, but also just getting over it at the same time. I'm an isolator, so I isolate a lot. So I isolate when I'm trying to do career growth or anything of that nature. So naturally, break up, I isolate. So in that, when that breakup happened, no one saw me for like 6 to 8 months. And I was very strategic about like where I would go, who would be around and so forth and so forth. I spent a lot of time with myself, and like your kid said, like just evaluating the relationship and seeing when things go wrong, but also evaluating to a degree of like trying to understand myself, like, hey, what is it that I actually do like? What is it that I actually don't like? What are some things that, and not just blaming the other person, but just more like, what are some things that I could have done better? Which for me, it was communicating better, and also I would say being a little bit more understanding. So it's like being understanding but not being understanding enough, being gracious but not being gracious enough. Like, it's it was always, there was something more that I could have done, not to necessarily say to save the relationship, but just to be a better overall partner. Um, and then once I started getting those pieces together and actually, having those hard conversations with yourself, like, okay, cool, like you could have did this better, you could have did that better. You could have handled the situation better and so forth, and trying to reframe how you do things moving forward, like with a future person. Um, and I would say, like in that relationship, yelling was normal.
Mm.
Or you know me for a very long time, Ramon. Yelling is not a thing that I do.
At
So
all.
um, I may get rowdy, I may get mad, and you'll visibly see it on my face. But yelling
Right.
is not something that I do.
Wow.
So yelling was very normal in that relationship, and I made a vow from there that in a relationship that I get in moving forward, I won't yell. So it doesn't matter if she's yelling at me. It doesn't matter how she's coming at me. I'm not yelling.
Mm.
And that is something that I've implemented into this relationship that I'm in now. And it works for us. So we actually have conversations. It is clear, you can clearly tell like we both could be frustrated, but we'll talk out the issue. No matter how long it takes, we'll talk about the issue and trying to see where the other person coming from and so forth and so forth. But we don't yell. And I even told her, like, hey, if I get to the point where I feel like I'm about to yell at you, I would tell you, hey, I need a minute. Let's reconvene at another time.
Mm.
Because I don't want to do that. I don't even want you to feel like that's a possibility. So like I see all the time, especially on social media, when women be like, "Now my man don't play that. This not another. He gonna cuss me the hell out." I don't know. I don't want my girl to know what that feels like. I don't want her to know what yelling or I guess I want her to feel the authority in my voice, but in a soft, gentle way, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to feel like I have to come off strong or my voice has to be projected to a point where you gotta be like, all right, cool, I gotta chill the fuck out. Because it's not coming out of a place of respect. It's coming out of a place of fear.
Absolutely.
So I don't necessarily want that at all. So but once I did get out of it and open myself up to it, going through the dating scene. Um, some people worked, some people didn't. There was a lot of things that I've even turned down or didn't even entertain or whatnot. No matter how good the person looked, it was just as you grow as a person, you just realize, at some point you don't want to be around pointless company. So, I rather be by myself than with someone that is just it's going to aggravate me or give me a headache from time to time.
Absolutely. I think what I love is that both of you guys looked at the relationship, did not take on full blame or guilt, but found something through yourself for where that you both could grow and learn from and make you better. So I think that's pretty dope. And I can definitely say that I just knowing both of you guys, Jokera significantly longer, I feel like you guys have done extremely well with how you guys have progressed and grown just from the, me and Jokera knowing each other from kids, and just from the first time I've known you, Will, just seeing how you guys have just grown as adults and maneuvered through different life situations that you guys have had to endure. I think that's been amazing to see and witness. Kenzell, I don't know if it was a heartbreak, but I know you did have a relationship that, a lot of us loved. I ain't gonna lie, a lot of us in the family loved y'all two together. So, it did end, unfortunately. She was a dope chick. I don't know if it was how much of a heartbreak it was for you, but talk about how that relationship ending. And for you, it was so many, kind of like with celebrities, when they are a couple and they break up, how they fans can be. A lot of us loved y'all together. So you had a lot of eyes on y'all two as a couple. What was that like for y'all to break up?
Right.
And then for you to kind of be willing to open up love again?
Okay. I have a very supportive and loving mother. And in that breakup, that was the first time that my mama looked at me and damn near called me stupid as hell.
Oh no!
Right there, you know what I'm saying? And at that time, I was with her since I was 19. She was 18 at that time, and we split at 23. I was in the military. I wasn't a very promiscuous dude. I didn't step out on her. It's a long distance thing, but it was something. She definitely had the credentials of what you would want to have a wife. Someone who was has a submissive spirit, willing to, go the extra mile for you, communicative, not very combative, decent personality. I mean, you've been around, but she just raised to be like a queen. That's what I would say. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you could tell about her parents, yeah.
Right. So she don't have very street element. You know what I mean? For me, I can't say that one per se was a heartbreak. It was a confusing man step for me. It was like, how do I give up something that's so good? You know what I'm saying? So I was always confused. It always threw me for a loop. It was like, okay, well, this woman checks out everything that, is on paper. However, she just doesn't make me laugh the way I would love to. And, for that was a big deal for me. And I also lost my best friend at that time. So I was searching for my identity.
Right.
In that time, I already went through a lot of growth. I joined the military. Then I had a very stressful job with air traffic control. And so I was on a quest. And at that time, too, and I was drinking for the first time. And I was turned at that time. I was like going out.
Right. Traveling the world and stuff.
Traveling the world and all that. So it was really an exploration time for me. And I'm just a person that loved myself. And I've never been a person who hurt other people. And I couldn't tag that person through it, because I know that person, she was dying for me to marry her. And I was just like, I know that I'll see the answer in the next 2 years. And if I don't know, I can't just see myself dragging you through this. And so like, I remember, talking to my OG about it. I mean, when we finally did break it off, I didn't do it in I took the sucker way out, so I try to not answer as many calls, and hopefully she get the hint, and just like, she was, so you don't want this anymore? And I'm just like, ooh, like a sucker on the phone. It's like, not even answering. Until finally she was like, okay, well, I got to end this. And, and that's kind of how it ended, So I think I did more of the heartbreaking than, it was on that side. So I took the sucker route.
And you learned from it or no?
I think I definitely learned from it. I think that it's better to just rip the Band-Aid off. There's no nice way to do it. But at that time, I'm a very introvert person. I don't talk a lot in general. So like, one being a man, you don't speak about your feelings. So like, again, I was confused about why do I feel this way, and I don't even know how to let them out. You know what I'm saying? Let alone the person you like. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's a certain level of respect you have when you're in a relationship that I don't want to see this person hurt. And I know I have an answer that can make you hurt. So how do I even convey that? You know what I'm saying? And I'm 23. I'm a young teeny bopper. You know what I mean? How do I convey that? And it was impossible. But I just knew the for a fact that like me dragging you along for this long ride was just the absolute wrong thing to do. Especially the first of all, I love and respect. And we both were so pure heart. Like I said, we met. She was 18, I was 19. So it was
right.
Like,
yeah.
Your first two on top of that. can't do that. Like if I drag you through here, I just want to go to hell. That's how I feel.
Right. Okay.
So,
In relationships, you know, I'm sure we all have things that it just ain't gonna work. Deal breakers. And I'm sure depending on what your preference is, what your desires, your taste, I'm pretty sure all of us can respond to different deal breakers. What I may allow, the next person will be, oh, hell no, we breaking up. So I'm just going to throw out some different deal breakers at some of you. And just, I'm curious to know if it's a thing. Kenzell doesn't like children.
You asking me, do I like children?
It's a deal breaker for you if she don't like children.
Oh, man. Yeah, man, because that's my biggest dream, man. Like, that's why I say, like, money doesn't no longer matter. That's why I say, like, the traditional route went out for me where, like, I'm okay with handling finances and stuff like that. And the reason why I don't really want my woman to work is because I think she is the key to educating my child. And she's free to give her all the attention and all the resources that she needs to do. And to me, that's just like the most invaluable process. And I know that a lot of women get stepped on for not being able to bring home the bacon, but I'm a trustworthy gentleman. And, I know TK says that, if I'm, paying on the bacon, like, if I'm paying on the bills, I'm stepping out. But that just ain't for me. It's not that case. It's like, I see the long-term goal and also, having a Christianity background, I think that's where traditional roles come from for us as a culture, is through the religion sector, you know what I'm saying? And so for me, yeah, education is the number one priority in my lifetime to this day in that aspect. So, and I just can learn so much from, my niece. I can learn so much from her. And I can learn so much from my child. I'm just trying to create the epicenter of greatness and we can share, So that's why I personally, would love to have
you want to have the cheers. Jokera, is that a deal breaker for you?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was stuck on mute. If they don't like children, that is absolutely a deal breaker for me. I still desire to have children, and actually in my dating now, that's like one of the first conversations that I have. I let that be known up front.
Okay. Smokes or does drugs, including weed? Now, so, and I guess it can kind of be two parts. Is weed not an issue? Because for me, first let me say, for me, yes, I like children. So if you don't like kids, that's the deal breaker for me. Not because I want them, but because I have in my family, I love kids. Whether I'm doing mentoring stuff or just the ones in my family, I love kids. So that's a deal breaker for me. But this next one about drugs or weed. So for me, I'm not putting weed under the same category. I'm separating weed. Weed, I don't have a problem with, but like all that other stuff, for me, it's a deal breaker. I've had relatives who have dealt with drug addiction, and so I've seen what that can do. And I've also known people who are functioning drug addicts, and I've seen what that can and cannot do. I just don't want to deal with that problem, that drama, that stress, or even that concern or worry. Last thing I want is for you to OD laying next to me in the bed. Yeah, that's the problem. So for me, weed is fine, but other stuff, that hard stuff would be a deal breaker. How about you, Kenzell?
Hard drug, it's a deal breaker for me, baby. You ain't stealing from me. I had my uncle, Uncle Nanny boy, he lied to my face, square in my face, like, but did you palm my goddamn camera?
Yeah.
I mean, square in my face. And it's like,
we both dealt with that from my relatives, yeah.
So when people, they got no control over, so I understand that. And that's why I was like, nah, it's a deal breaker for me. I'm not even gonna put myself through that type of hell.
Right.
It's definitely not a sex quality for me when I see a woman smoking, but deal breaker, it's on that. For me, it might be 75-80% a deal breaker for me.
Okay. How about you, Will?
We ain't a bad drug, but yeah, just like yeah.
Hard drugs, yeah, definitely. And this is coming from someone who's had relatives that's been addicts, and I've seen what it did to them, the family helping them out and trying to help them get clean. And hasn't always worked. It's always, like I said, it's always like playing Russian roulette, going to rehab and stuff.
Right.
So definitely a no for me. As far as I don't think I necessarily have an issue with it per se. I'm an edible kind of person. I'll
I
do
prefer
edible
edibles too. Yeah.
before I do that, but I don't think I necessarily have an issue with it. I probably have an issue with it if you just try to do that shit all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be a turn off in itself, but I don't think it'll be like a deal breaker.
How
as a
about
whole.
How about family conflicts? They always got something. Just for you, Will. They always got some drama going on with their family. Very dysfunctional, very toxic family. Not them. They're not toxic, but they got a lot of toxicity and negativity in their family. They can never get along.
Nah, I don't think so, to be quite honest, because whatever her family got going on, if it doesn't affect her and I, that ain't my business. That ain't our business. And this is probably a toxic saying, but remember as a kid, it'd be like, stay out of grown folks' business. That's ain't got nothing to do with me.
Right.
I'm gonna stay over here and go from there. The only thing, family issues. No, when it starts to drift into the relationship, and then conversations need to be had and boundaries need to be set.
Yeah.
But as far as her dysfunctional family, nah, I'm okay.
Yeah, I agree. Same for me. As long as it doesn't come to my doorstep, as long as it doesn't affect our relationship, it's not a deal breaker for me. I'd be that ear, that confidant for her whenever she needs to confide in it or vent about it. But as long as it's not affecting our relationship, and it wouldn't be a deal breaker. But at the same time, I think boundaries are important because I don't want you to be stressed and sad and going through all the negative emotions, because if we love each other, when you're stressed, I'm stressed. And when you're hurting, I'm hurting. So I definitely want to put some boundaries. Like, you might want to distance yourself from your family. I'm not giving you an ultimatum, but like, are you really willing to keep putting yourself through all this stress and these emotional problems? Let's say excessively, and I give this another one to you, Will, excessively vain.
Excessively vain. Explain that. What you mean?
From fake hair to nails to breasts, with endless hours spent in front of the mirror or at the gym. Just excessively vain in how they look. It's just.
I was gonna say, when you said gym, I go to the gym all the time. I don't know how I feel about that, but no, I don't think I've ever dated someone who's been excessively vain in that regard, always into themselves, how they look, and so forth and so forth. I mean, the most that'll probably come is to like, hey, I'm having a bad hair day. They're not really feeling the greatest and stuff like that. But I think that's normal. But I don't think I've ever experienced that.
Okay.
I don't actually think I ever want to be quite honest. That just seems more of a headache, and it seems like you have to reassure that person
a lot,
consistently and constantly, day in and day out.
And speaking of reassuring, Jokera, is this the deal breaker? Suffering from low self-esteem?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I say this because that in itself can be a strain on a relationship, because you are bringing constant negative energy, I believe, into a situation, no matter how much affirming is done. Fighting low self-esteem, that's something internal. That has to be worked through. And I don't believe that I have the capacity.
Right.
Yeah, I don't believe I have the capacity for it.
It would be
I need them to come healed already.
Hello. I think for me, it would be a deal breaker just because I've never had low self-esteem, but I've had things that I have gone through therapy and dealt with and healed and evolved from. And I need you to come heal too, because I don't want to. how can I explain it to not sounding selfish? Like,
Listen, it's okay.
I don't want to deal with it. I don't have the patience
Yeah.
for it. I don't have the space for it because I am at such a place now where I am legitimately having genuine, and we've had this conversation, Jokera, where I'm having genuine like joy and peace in my life right now. And you and Kenzell know some of the things I've gone through the past few years that kind of prevented that. And I've come so far. So I don't want that person's brokenness to cause me to regress, if that makes sense. Yeah, because I want to keep moving forward, and you already being healed or a little further than me can motivate me to progress. You being broken and blah blah blah. Yeah, I ain't trying to go back to where I came from. So yeah, for me that's the deal breaker. Kenzell, cheap, is that a deal breaker?
Oh, baby, she's speaking my language.
Oh God. No, it's not, and that's fine. Listen, if you're frugal, that's fine.
I'm definitely because I know for me I am, and this is from like being I guess financially astute, whatever you want to call it. I'd rather have somebody who spends less than somebody who gonna run me out of town. So
how about lack of ambition? Is that a deal breaker for you?
No, I don't think lack of ambition bothers me if she's a very artful spirit.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because are you lack of ambition because I don't want to be a lawyer? You know, or you lack of ambition because I don't really want to be in the common workplace, but you know, so my heart drives me to put out paintings. My heart drives me to create clothing. You know,
okay.
So like, and it's not clothing like this has to be a clothing line, but this is like something I would really thoroughly like.
It's very artistic. You want to say, okay.
Yeah.
So
I can do it all day, every day.
Right. Okay. So going along from that, how about for all of y'all, is unemployed a deal breaker? Kenzell?
No.
Okay. Will said no. Kenzell?
Oh man. We got to define unemployed because that's why I said the art thing is like, okay, it's one thing to be like
zero income. They either got on unemployment checks or zero, like literally zero. Nothing coming in.
Like, it's a thing for me. I'm like, man, is she like unemployed but she can cook well? And like that's why I said this whole goes back.
Okay, so she can bring other things to the table.
If she can bring other things to the table, for me, it's not a deal breaker. Like,
okay, Jokera.
Yeah.
At this point in my life, baby, if you ain't working, please don't look my way.
Yeah.
Don't even look in my direction, baby. You have to come with a job. You must be employed. Now, I'm not putting stipulation on where you working. Granted, though, I may start doing that. I wasn't before. I may need to, but you must be employed. You need to have a job.
So let's speak on the place of employment.
Oh yeah, it matters.
What could be some? Let me ask this question: could he be extremely financially well off? How he acquires it could be a little sketchy, but it keeps your hands clean. Nothing can come back to you or trace back to you.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about where he get his money from.
And
it can't be traced. You know, I work for Uncle Sam, so you know I have to be careful with my stuff and who I interact with. So
that is true.
I was gonna say, you know,
I don't know about that.
She directly with the
people just get caught with a RICO case too. So
I just saw that
right.
Okay. I was like, wait, what happened?
Exactly.
Look, RICO case, it's anybody that they know.
Right.
So that's gotta be careful with that one.
I directly work for Uncle Sam, and I like freedom.
Okay, I'm gonna do two more. In debt. What if they are in debt?
You talking student loan debt or we talking credit card debt? Which one? That's a difference.
So so for you, it'll make a difference what the debt is.
For me, yeah.
Okay, Kenzell, will it make a difference?
On wheel.
For Kenzell, it'll make a difference what kind of debt it is?
Oh yeah, debt. Oh yeah.
What about you, Jokera?
Zero balance and negative. Yeah, it's a problem now.
How about you, Jokera?
So in terms of having debt, it isn't an issue in terms of deal breaker. It would be more or less how you're managing that debt.
Okay.
Is where I would consider what's a deal breaker or not. Because baby, I got debt.
Right, right,
I got it. However, I manage it. So
I agree with
yeah.
you, Kara. It's just if there's a plan in place to tackle your debt and everything, then cool. But if you just letting them sit, letting them pile,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not trying to do anything about it, that's a
That's a
whole
problem.
different thing. That's why I was saying like it depends on which kind of debt you're talking about. Because student loan debt, everybody got student loan debt. So it's
Right.
like when you go to buy a house and they do the calculations, they take literally 1% of your student loan debt into calculations because they know everybody got it. So
Right, right.
it's not
Mm-hmm.
even a big factor. But if you got car note debt, if you got multiple collection accounts, if you got credit card debt, but you are being financially irresponsible, that's a problem for me. So that's when you asked Kenzell earlier about like, can you be with a cheap person? I was like, I don't know about cheap, but if we could be with a financially responsible person,
Right,
that's different.
right, right.
I look, my girl make me feel like I'm the spender in that relationship, and I'm usually the penny puncher. So she'd be like, "Nah, what you doing that for?" I'm just like, "It's just $20." She was like, "Nah, we use that for something else." I'm just, I've never met someone more frugal than me.
That's
Let's
funny.
let's go on a date. Let's go on $100 date. Just
Right.
because,
Right,
just to break you out of this just a little bit. You feel
right,
me? So,
right.
but nah, just I think being financially responsible is more
Right.
important than someone being cheap or the debt that they got.
I agree. Yeah, debt for me would depend on what kind and how much, and are we being irresponsible or not, how we're managing it. Absolutely. And then for the unemployment, yeah, that's for me, that's a deal breaker. I'm sorry. It depends on why you're unemployed, though. Now, if you just got over some health issues, um, you're in school, then that's a conversation that can be had. But if you like got a record and can't get a job, or you got problems with yourself and don't know how to keep a job, I was getting fired for some crap, or you just want to live off the government, that's a strong hell no for me. If you're just comfortable or content living off the government. And then the last one was just simple. And this might be hard for the two of y'all that's in the DMV, but I mean, Kenzell, we down here in South Florida, but they have no car. No car.
Yeah, I mean that's common around here, but
Okay.
um, but I do drive. Like even though in the area, like I live on the outskirts, so I drive everywhere. I ain't gonna say
Yeah.
it's a deal breaker,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Yeah, I would probably say it depends on your region and where you live, because definitely
Okay.
DMV area, you don't necessarily need a car if you are close enough. There are transit systems that'll get you to where you gotta go.
That's true.
Especially in and out the city and out the state too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's if you're close enough, having a car is not a huge deal. I would say for me, I don't know. I think for myself, it's important for me as a man to have a car so I could be able to get around as much as I need to. Um, and if I want to go somewhere that's on the outskirts, like if I want to just take a road trip to South Carolina for no reason, I can.
Right,
You
right.
know, just do that. But I don't think I require that from my partner to have a car. Like right now, like I got a line brother right now. His wife don't drive.
Correct. She doesn't. That is true.
His wife does not drive. She's
That
from New
is
York,
true.
so she's from New York. So what she's used to is a train system
Mm-hmm.
taking her everywhere that she needs to go.
Right.
So their accommodation is like he picks and takes her from work to and from work. So they work that out with their dynamic, and does the same thing with Junior as well. So I'm just like,
Right.
that's different for me
Mm-hmm.
personally, but um No, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay. How about you, Kenzell?
Running back, I know we're talking about. Oh, no car.
Yeah, is that a deal breaker?
It tells me your financial situation, but it's not a deal breaker for me because, again, like he said, he's a man, so he's like, we need to get around for you to provide for yourself and those are deals, but that role doesn't really apply for women altogether.
Okay.
So it doesn't deal break for me. And then at this time, we got Uber and Lyft at this point.
Right.
You don't even need to know street address like you used to back in the day. Then when you had to pull over and talk, say, hey, how do I get to XYZ? And everybody, oh, you make a left, you make a right, XYZ. It's right down there.
Okay.
Yeah, at this point. So no, it's not a deal breaker for me.
Lastly, I do like to play a game from time to time. So I have a little relationship, dating, never have I ever. And for the respect of time, I won't do all of the things I was going to ask. So I'll just throw a few of them out there. And I'm curious to know who. Never have I ever stood someone up.
I've done that.
Yeah.
Like y'all planned to go somewhere and
you
just
didn't
show up?
Yeah, purposely.
And you didn't tell them?
Yeah.
Well, no, not on a date. Well, not as Kira put it that way. No, not on a date. I haven't done that on a date. I've always showed up for a date. I've skipped out on a couple of appointments. I will say that.
Okay. Jokera. Yeah.
Just saying.
I mean, I guess I don't. I probably wouldn't even say it. I stood up because I don't never give a firm, like a hard yes.
Okay.
So that way I can, if I don't show up, you can't really be mad because I never really told you yes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I'll be mad at you. It's a yes or a no. I'm gonna need that clip.
I'm gonna check it out. Oh, yeah. I'll let you know.
That's so funny. How about you, Kenzell?
It had to be under an extremely petty situation, or like, so we done rap for a little minute and we talked about going out for a minute. I done lost interest, but you don't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then part B is like, I might pull up, meet you, but like I'll wait to see, like, so I might pull up a little early to see, like, okay, does this picture really match how you look? And if it don't,
oh hell no.
You know what's so funny, and it's so funny you said that because, and I'll do two quick story times. So the stood up part I did do. The stood up part I did.
Yeah.
I was staying down in Doral or Sweetwater area by FIU South.
And in South Florida, South Miami.
And had made plans to go on a date. But the thing was, someone that I didn't know was interested, but I was interested, but didn't know they was, and I kind of had moved on from even the thought or whatever. Happened to hit me up the night before. Conversation went to a nice direction. They were still there the next morning. So I just didn't go on a date because this person was still here, and this was kind of like someone I wanted more than the person I'm gonna go on a date with. So I didn't even text or call. And what's crazy was years later, I guess they remembered that because my supervisor that I ended up having at this job invited me to this gathering. And I'd be damned, I'll go there and they best friends. Now, this person wasn't my supervisor at the time. I didn't even know. But fast forward some years, I got a new job and this is my supervisor's best friend. And they damn sure remember that when I stood them up.
Wow.
And then when you mentioned about what was my second story time? What'd you mention, Kenzell?
He'll pull up early and see if
yes.
Oh boy, this is why it's a woman who gave me that game.
Yeah.
A woman who gave me that game.
This was my last year at FIU. I was staying on campus my last year at FIU, and I want to try the apps. I won't say which app, but I want to try the apps.
Right.
So conversation got started on the apps, and I decided to meet them somewhere. But I'm kind of anal about letting just anybody know where I stay at. So I decided to meet them at the gas station across the street from FIU. I pull up, they pull up and roll down their window. I sped up that gas station so fucking fast. And the plan was they were gonna meet me here, and I made it seem as if it was very tricky to get to where I lived at. Not knowing I live on fucking campus, the big building right there. But I didn't know what you looked like first or whatever, right? So the plan was to follow me to where I stayed at. I sped so fast, red light and all. You ain't finna, y'all. I was gone. So yeah, that was my little story time.
All right, Kodak.
You stupid. Never have I, and this is probably for the guys, but you all can answer. Never have I ever said I love you just to sleep with someone. I never done that either. I never did that. Kenzell, you never did it? Okay.
That thing is liable to get killed doing stuff like that.
Hello. Never have I ever been, I kind of answered this last season, I think on the episode with you, Jokera, but never have I ever been a part of the Mile High Club.
I have not.
Nah.
Oh, so I guess I'm the only one.
Mile High Club, you actually done slipped it in on the plane, or you done, you know, saying hello?
You go to the bathroom unexpectedly and have fun, but you gotta, you go to the bathroom first, wait a few minutes, then they come and you have a little fun. Then you leave separately. You don't walk out the bathroom at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. Because on some of these flights,
it might have been a trip to the island or something like that. This couldn't be no quick trip.
It was Africa.
That's a long ass flight. I can see that happening.
And they give you, and this is why I'm always
free drinks. They give you free drinks on that flight now.
And that's what it was. Like,
your African brother, boy, we going.
It was a group trip. We've already had conversation. We already know what's in the back of our mind or whatever. You got me on this long ass flight. The liquor they're not charging you for the liquor. I mean, it's dark, it's cozy, like it was fun.
I can't focus on that on the plane.
Never have I,
Well, I will say something. I ain't good with it.
I was saying I can't focus on that on the plane. We need to make it to and from. Like, I need to make sure if this is the way I'm going now, I cannot approach the pearly gates like this. Look, Lord.
So I am guilty of this next one. I'm not sure about y'all. So we'll see if y'all are guilty of this one as well. Never have I ever woken up next to someone I didn't recognize or don't remember how you ended up there.
I can't think of a time.
Okay, Kenzell.
I never been that late before. I'm too like.
So no for everybody. Okay, but me.
Yeah.
No.
I be afraid, boy. Man, you might wake up to Mike Tyson or something.
And I'll do another quick story time. So I went on a cabin trip. I literally went on this trip only knowing 2 people. And it was a lot of drinking and it was really a lot of fun. Like one of the best trips I ever had on. I went to bed by myself, swear to God. Went to bed by myself. But sometimes you can drink and black out and don't remember what done happened. So I start to hear commotion. And I'm like, why do I hear something going on in my bed, in the bathroom, in the room I'm in? I'm like, what the fuck is that? You can clearly tell it's sex going on in the bathroom. I don't know what the fuck is in the bathroom, but you can clearly tell it's that going on in the bathroom. But then I look over because I felt something rub up against me. It was a human with no clothes on. But then I ain't got no clothes on. I'm confused. I went to bed with clothes on. You ain't got no clothes on. And then who the hell is in my bathroom getting it on?
You done got Archie.
Yeah, so that was
I'm sorry.
That was an interesting trip to say the least. Never have I ever been hated by my partner's parents.
Nah, they all love me.
Nah, I'm the one that got away.
The ones that I met.
Okay. Never have I ever lied about someone's performance in bed.
Oh yeah.
I never been asked that question, so it's like.
Me neither.
Mine was more so if it was terrible, you just never heard from me again.
Never lied, but I have faked an injury.
Injury.
So we not even, so like, I don't have to lie that it was good because if it's not, I'm finna find some way to get myself out of it. So you ain't never gonna ask me that question. I'm just gonna fake an injury.
I never hit that text where like, hey bro, call me ASAP.
Listen, it's so funny you said. It's so funny.
You said what?
Funny you said that. So funny you said that, Kenzell, because
that boy, yes sir.
Yeah, I was living in Brevard,
mm-hmm.
and I think I told this story last year too. But I was living in Brevard and met someone. I was at their crib, and I walked in, and it's slowly going down, but it some other pieces got added. I'm like, I'm not down for this. Like, this is a little too much of what I asked. And I remember texting Jokera. I think we were both still in college, and I remember texting her, just call me and pretend. I don't know what I said. And that was my way to get the hell out of there. I think I told her to pretend like it was emergency. Something. I don't remember what I told her, but yeah, I need to get the hell up out of there.
Right.
So, yeah, I definitely had that experience. Never have I ever called someone the wrong name on a date.
Oh yeah, that's why I stick to babe.
Never have I ever needed to use 3 condoms in one day.
Oh yeah, plenty of times.
You say never have you what?
Never have I ever had to use 3 condoms in one day.
Oh yeah. Oh, I said my own.
No.
Yeah, that's me.
Boy.
Look, 2016 was a very it was a time to be alive.
Yeah.
It was a time to be alive.
Never have I ever hooked. I'll do 2 more. Never have I ever hooked up with a friend while drunk.
Yeah,
I've done that.
No, yeah, I've definitely done that. I've done that. Unfortunately, we don't talk anymore. It was just weird afterwards. Yeah. It was weird.
Yeah, so I was in Texas one time. It happened. Never spoke about it again. Never spoke about it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It happened. We never spoke about it, and but I did put it in my first book, but I changed the names. So yeah, I'll leave that.
I still gotta read them too.
And lastly, never have I ever had a threesome.
I have never.
Man,
I've never had a threesome, but I have been to an orgy, unfortunately.
Okay, I've done both. Okay,
right.
I don't even know how I got there.
My 20s was nasty. You said you don't know how you got there.
I was just invited. It was just a group of friends. Everything was going well. Met a young lady. Everybody trying to get at this young lady. It was just like no one was working. And then me and her started talking and everything was going fine. We stepped off. Everything was going cool. And then we went to this room and we was just talking. We was laying there. And then we was getting started. And then it's dark now. You can't see nobody, but you know.
Right. It's always dark at those things.
Yeah. So I'm just hearing noises, but I know it ain't her. So I'm like, somebody else in the room? And then it was like 4 different voices. Literally, like one person of this, like not one person, like one couple in this corner, another couple in that corner, somebody on this bed, somebody in that corner. And I was just like, this is weird. And then she was just like, don't worry about that. And then she started doing what she was doing. And I was just like, I'm probably never gonna talk to you again after this point, but that's okay, because that's all right. But it was just a weird moment. Like the moment I was done, I left because I was just like, I never want to be in this environment ever again.
Right. It's definitely not for everybody. Definitely not for everybody.
I had a Denzel moment. I was just like, you know what? I'm leaving with something. You know.
Right. Oh God.
This is it.
Listen, Jokera, Kenzell, Will, I really appreciate it. I ain't gonna keep y'all too much longer. I appreciate y'all for doing this episode. This is my premiere episode of my 2nd season. So I appreciate the support again, Jokera, as always, and I'm glad to have Kenzell and Will on here. Hope to have, and I'm sure we'll have all 3 again throughout the season. But yeah, I definitely want to appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for doing this.
No problem. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely.
I enjoy it.
All right, good night, y'all. Y'all take care.
Well, that's it for the zone today. We are officially shutting it down. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, remember this. Some people will judge you for changing. Others will celebrate you for growing. Choose your circle carefully.